Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Raiders strike deal with ex-Cowboys $57 million WR, report. The Las Vegas Raiders released Hunter Renfrow this offseason and never signed a replacement. The team also didn't draft a single wide receiver. They did sign 3 undrafted free agents, but it's unlikely any of them will see a lot of snaps in 2024. The Raiders have now decided to add wide receiver reinforcement. According to an April 29 X post from ESPN's Adam Schefter, Las Vegas is signing former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup to a 1-year contract worth up to $3 million. Gallup was released this offseason just 2 years into the 5-year, $57.5 million contract he signed with the Cowboys before the 2022 season. While he's had some big years, Gallup hasn't been nearly as productive in recent seasons. Since having 843 receiving yards in 2021, he has not had more than 500 receiving in 3 straight seasons. It's difficult to pay a wide receiver $11.5 million a year if they can't get closer to 1,000 yards consistently. Gallup has spent his entire career in Dallas up to this point, but he's just 28. He's young enough to still be able to give the Raiders a productive season. With Davante Adams and Jakobi Meyers entrenched as the top 2 wide receivers, Gallup could carve out a role as the WR3. Getting Gallup for up to $3 million is a savvy move from Raiders general manager Tom Telesco. The team was very thin at wide receiver behind Adams and Meyers. Gallup getting less than 500 yards for the Cowboys was a disappointment for them, but that would be a good number to expect from him in Las Vegas. Adams, Meyers, and rookie first-round pick Brock Bowers are going to command a lot of attention from defenses. That should give Gallup a chance to get open more often. He has experience playing in the slot and should be a solid replacement for Renfrow. The risk is also minimal. If Gallup shows up to camp and is getting outplayed by other wide receivers, he should be easy to cut. The Raiders needed another veteran wide receiver, and this roster and Gallup was one of the best still on the market. With the Raiders missing out on drafting a quarterback, it's clear they want to make Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell's job a lot easier. Las Vegas has one of the most intriguing sets of skill position players in the NFL. Bowers could be a serious offensive rookie of the year candidate, while Michael Mayer showed a lot of promise as a rookie. Adams is still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, while Meyers was a very good number 2 last season. The Raiders also used a second-round pick to get Jackson Powers-Johnson, who could be a starter at guard. Though the team doesn't have a superstar playing quarterback, whoever ends up starting will have a lot to work with. Considering the Raiders aren't dedicating much money to the quarterback position, it makes sense to use that extra money to load up the offense. It remains to be seen if it will lead to significant offensive improvements in 2024. Ezekiel Elliott breaks silence after reported Cowboys re-signing. After weeks of rumors and reports, the Dallas Cowboys finally decided to re-sign Ezekiel Elliott on Monday. The idea of the Cowboys re-signing Elliott was at a fever pitch before the 2024 NFL Draft, as Dallas didn't do much of anything in free agency to address the position after seeing Tony Pollard sign a 3-year deal with the Tennessee Titans. Most Cowboys fans thought the team would take a running back in the draft, but that wasn't the case, leading to Jerry Jones and company welcoming Elliott back to Dallas. The former first-round pick responded to the report of him signing back with Dallas on Twitter, putting the eyes emoji. The 28-year-old Elliott spent the 2023 season with the New England Patriots after being with the Cowboys for the first 7 years of his career. Elliott didn't look like the same running back we saw with the Cowboys last season in New England. Elliott posted 642 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on 184 carries. However, he was a factor in the passing game, adding 51 receptions, 65 targets, for 313 yards and 2 touchdowns. Even though the veteran running back averaged a career-worst 3.5 yards per carry last season, the Cowboys believe he has something left in the tank in 2024. In his last season with Dallas, 2022, the former Ohio State standout produced 876 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns as he shared snaps with Pollard. Elliott joins a crowded running back room in Dallas that features Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman, and Nathaniel Peat, whom the team signed as an undrafted free agent. The Cowboys hope Elliott can bring a spark back to the backfield, as they will need him to be the bell cow if they want to win the NFC East for the third time in the last 4 years. Cowboys projected to add top QB who exudes arm talent to replace Dak Prescott. The Monday after the NFL draft is always a somewhat sad day, a time officially turn the page on what we had watched and predicted and forecast over the previous year. For the Cowboys, the 2024 draft class is in the books, and the team now will have to get real with the notion of paying up for its 3 prime star players as mandatory workouts approach next month. If that sounds like not quite as much fun as mock draft debates, then have no fear. It's early, just about as early as possible, but we're already seeing the first 2025 mocks sprout up. And Pro Football Focus has a rather intriguing pick for the Cowboys, given the way the 2024 offseason has unfolded. That would be Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, whom the Cowboys would take to replace Dak Prescott. That presumes, as is looking increasingly likely, that Prescott will not get an extension from the Cowboys in 2024 and will play out the season as the final year on his contract. If that happens, perhaps Ewers is their man going forward. Here's how PFF laid out the scenario. Dak Prescott is in the final year of his contract, and all indications are that he'll play this season without an extension. While still relatively raw, Ewers has a high ceiling and posted an 85.6 passing grade this past season. Jerry Jones finds his quarterback of the future and keeps Ewers in the Lone Star State, where he was born and raised. Indeed, Ewers was the #1 recruit in the nation in 2021, coming out of Southlake Carroll High, and has been at Texas ever since. He threw for 2,177 yards in his first season and came back with 3,479 yards last year, throwing 22 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions. He finished last year strong, with 452 yards passing in the Longhorns' Big 12 championship win over Oklahoma State, and 318 yards in the Texas loss to Washington in the CFB playoffs. In the second game of the season, at Alabama, Ewers was outstanding, leading a fourth-quarter comeback and finishing with 349 yards on 24 for 38 passing, with 3 touchdowns. In a quarterback draft class expected to be much weaker than this year's, Ewers has a chance to solidify himself as a top draft pick, and the Cowboys would have to be interested. CBS's scouting report on Ewers reads, Ewers was blessed by the football gods, and his parents, with a naturally live arm. He's capable of really cranking the velocity from any arm angle and lower body base. He exudes arm talent. Certainly, the team has set up 2024 as a do-or-die scenario for Prescott. The Cowboys have yet to fully engage their Pro Bowl QB in contract talks, but Prescott is entering the final year of the 4-year, $160 million contract he signed in Dallas in 2021. That heavily backloaded contract is slated to pay him a whopping $55 million in 2024, and the Cowboys could have brought that number down if they'd reworked the deal over a longer time frame. But nothing got done on an extension, leaving the team a bit hogtied in its salary cap situation. If the Cowboys had intended to give Prescott a long-term deal, it would have made sense to do so before free agency started, to free up some cap space. They did not, though, and lost 5 starters in free agency as a result. That indicates that the Cowboys are prepared to let Prescott walk if this season flames out in the playoffs the way last season did. If they do, expect them to look to bolster the quarterback room in the draft. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Quinn Ewers? Leave your opinion in the comments.